If you've been following my series on Happier and the Beast, you may have from time to time spotted some plastic bags in the background. Little Ziplock bags. And I become a real fan of these bags. And I'm going to explain why. There's two types that I like to use. One is the 4x6, and the other one is a little 2x2 inch, just a little 2x2 inch. And what I do when I'm working around these cars, it's very easy to use bags to prevent fluid line and air line contamination. Look what I've done when I've removed the leveling valve here on the air suspension on this 6.3. I don't want any dirt getting back into those lines. I can create a havoc when I install the rebuilt valves. So what I've done is I've taken each one of these lines and I've covered it up with a little 2x2 bag and of course sealed it. I'm not worried about an airtight seal here. And I've got these bags, I use them for testing fuel injectors. I use them for catching brake fluid. How many of you have removed a brake caliper thinking that you've gotten all the fluid out of the line only to come back and find a puddle on the floor? Well, guess what? You can use bags for that. How about power steering? You unhook the lines to the power steering pump and then move your car and turn the steering wheel. You want to guess what happens to the fluid in those lines from the steering box? It squirts right out onto the floor. So when I remove power steering lines, when I remove transmission cooler hoses, in come the little Ziplock bags. So sometimes the simple things, inexpensive things, can solve big problems. Let me show you how I hook this up to a brake line when I removed the rear caliper. And really, I thought I had most of the fluid out of there. It also showed me the level of contamination. You're going to be surprised when you see this. Look at this up here. Maybe you can see this. This is the chamber for the air spring on the air suspension system. When I removed the rubber boot, it left this chamber open. So I sealed that off with a 10x12 plastic Ziploc bag. So a good assortment is real handy. But look over here. Here's where I use that 4x6. Look at the brake fluid. Now, removing the caliper, I could have done a couple other things. I could have plugged the line, rigged up some way to plug the hard line, but those lines are hard to plug when they're under gravity fed from the master cylinder. The problem with that is I wouldn't have gotten all the contaminants out. And the other thing is I could have put a pan on the floor, but if you let brake fluid drip on the pan, every time it hits the pan, it splatters. So the bag becomes an ideal solution. Look at here, look at the contamination. See that? You can see moisture contamination that was in the brake lines. This isn't in the caliper. This was in the brake lines or possibly even the master cylinder as it drained completely dry. So I put bags on all four of these hard brake lines when I removed the calipers. And look, I've been able to catch all this old dirty brake fluid without even having to clean up a pan. So I love bags. You watch me work on these cars, you're going to see these plastic bags floating all over the place because I have become a real fan of them.